Welcome. You're listening to the Leading Hope Podcast. My name is VJ Williams, here with my friend and pastor, Kevin Jack. Thank you for taking time out of your day to become a better leader. If you're new, we release a new episode every Wednesday. We'd love for you to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and get these automatically downloaded each week. Also, share this with a friend on Facebook, YouTube, or Instagram. Also, rate and review on Apple Podcasts. You won't believe how a few extra minutes will absolutely help get this podcast in the hands of so many more leaders just like you. Visit leadinghope.online to get updates and find out more about the Leading Hope community. Today, Kevin, we are starting a new series.
Before you enter the series, a plane just flew over the lake.
Really?
It was really cool.
Oh, man, I missed it. Yeah. Well, that's okay. New series today.
New series.
The series is going to be Keys to Creating Content. This is episode 141. Turn the faucet on. Turn it on. Do it.
That sounds so dumb. Hey, so today we're talking about creating content. I think we're going to do 3 weeks in this series. Ooh. Creating content, not delivering content. We did a series, not that long ago, on storytelling.
Oh,
they went like 5-6 episodes. That is really about delivering content. So let me just intro it like this. Anytime you give a speech, there are 3 skills that are at play. Okay, anytime you give a talk, a sermon, a message, whatever it is, a presentation, there are 3 skills that are at play. There is creating content, organizing content, and delivering content. And I think the unique thing is all 3 of those skills are incredibly different.
Yeah.
Like they are so different. And so we say like the delivering content, it's charisma that is the most important thing. It's energy and charisma. It's clarity in your speech. Like that is what comes out. In organizing the content, it's a combination of having repetitions, hearing enough messages, having a logical way of thinking that's a coherent flow, understanding the difference between contents that interest you, content that's interesting to others. And then there is creating content, which it's such a different skill set. It invokes curiosity. It has unique insights. There's all these other pieces. And I think what's fascinating is that unless if you've got like paid speechwriters, which I don't know anyone who does. Like there are people who do. I don't personally know anyone who does. You need to be good at all 3.
There's a couple jokes there, but we're not going there right now.
You need to be good at all 3. And so here's my real kind of hope and heart behind this series is young communicators. Okay. People who are just getting repetitions, especially younger pastors who maybe don't preach all the time, maybe have just started preaching with a regular rhythm, people who aren't used to grabbing a microphone and stepping up on the platform or whatever that looks like. I really want to speak to you. Now, if you feel like you're an expert, I may not be that helpful to you, but I just want to give you some introductory ideas that I believe that are important on creating, managing, and delivering on creating content. And so what we're talking about today is we're talking about turn the faucet on. This is going to sound really dumb. Okay.
I can't wait.
I don't know how I didn't realize this, but I thought like when you turn the faucet on, that you were pulling water.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got you.
Like I thought there was like some weird vacuum thing that was created that as soon as I turned the faucet on.
You really did believe that?
I don't think I really functionally thought through it.
Okay.
Could I say it like that?
There you go.
Because of like the water pressure that came out and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was just like this dumb thing to go, oh, it's right there.
Yeah.
And all I have to do is release the block.
Yeah.
And it'll come.
Yeah. It's good.
Does that make sense?
Yep, absolutely.
All you had to do was release the block that's in place.
Yep.
And the flow, what you need, will actually be there. I believe that may be true for you. I believe that's true for you in creating content.
Yeah.
It's already there.
That's good.
It's just getting blocked.
Like good.
What you need, what you know, it's already there. It's sitting right there.
It's good.
There's just no flow. And so nothing is actually coming out. You already have something to teach. You're just unaware of it because currently it's being blocked. Let me give you 2 examples from my own life. First off, is this podcast. So this is, what are we in? This is episode 141.
141.
We're 141 episodes
It's crazy.
in.
It's crazy talk.
Now, I want to be clear. They're not all a 9 or a 10.
No, of course not.
Okay? Like some of the content, like I like it.
Yeah.
But I listened to it afterwards. I listened a couple weeks ago when our sound was all messed up. Like I know what, like I know that they're all not a 9 or a 10.
Yeah.
But here's my confession is that when we started the podcast, you're like, hey, let's start a leadership podcast to aid the people in our church and those who are aware of what we're doing to help them go forward, to help them lead others towards hope and not just despair.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, let's do it. Well, I thought we probably had a good, like 10 episodes in us.
Yeah.
Like, I go like, we're going to do this is VJ. We're going to do a weekly podcast.
Yep.
20 minutes. And I'll be like, every week, leadership content every week. Yep. Every week, leadership content. And I was like, okay, well, that'll be fun to do for 2.5 months. and then I'll be tapped out of leadership content because that's really all that I know. But as we've stayed focused and as we keep producing, as we haven't shut the faucet down, but we've kept it on and we haven't blocked the flow of content, we're 141 episodes in. And there is stuff that I didn't know that I know.
Yeah.
I didn't know that I knew.
Right.
Or I was unaware of, and I'll get into that in just a second. My point is simply this. I did not think that we could possibly teach this much. Yeah. And I'm not saying all of it has been fantastic,
right,
but we have far more than I ever could have imagined.
It's really good.
Another example, and this draws even earlier, is in my time as a youth pastor, I went through this little stint where I was also the interim pastor of our church. We're not going to get into all that messiness. The point is this, is I'm fresh out of school. Okay, I don't have that much experience. I don't have that much wisdom. I don't have that many lessons to teach. And I found myself for 6 months in a spot in which I was preaching a 25-minute slot to students every Wednesday night. And it wasn't a talk.
Right.
I was preaching to students for 25 minutes every Wednesday night. I was teaching, giving a message for 30 minutes, 2 more senior adults every Sunday night, and I was preaching every Sunday morning for 40 minutes.
Wow.
So 3 times a week.
Did you just reuse the same content for each one?
Absolutely not.
Never. That's impressive.
Well, because a lot of the students on Wednesday night were there on Sunday morning, and a lot of the senior adults who were there on Sunday morning were also there on Sunday night.
So the faucet's really on.
But here's the thing, is to say, I want to say like that was a really hard season.
Yeah.
But it forced me to learn things. It forced me to become far better at creating content than I ever would have before. And so when you turn the faucet on, I want to tell you a couple things that is going to happen, okay? When you release that block for the information that you're becoming aware of, release that block for the things that you're learning that you're able to teach. 3 things that happen in your life. First off, it creates awareness. You look for insights and principles. You look for thoughts. And I would just say this like this. There is a radical difference between someone who delivers content and someone who never does, not just on what they're aware of, but what they learn in the long run. Because we understand that, man, when you can teach something, when you teach something, you know it far better than the person who just listens to it.
Yeah.
And so say like, man, for people who are creating content, you hear a story, people are like, oh, that was a cool story. Or they hear a quote, oh, that's a good quote. And I'm immediately phone out, writing it down.
Yep.
I don't know where I'm going to use it, but I promise you I'm going to use it somewhere.
Yep.
One of the ones that has stuck with me is, we'll share it again.
Yep.
Years ago, I heard this quote from the Sheikh of Dubai.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, this is my favorite one. And he said it like this. It may be just a smidge off, but the idea is there. He said, my grandfather rode a camel. My father drove a Mercedes. I drive a Lamborghini. My son drives a Land Rover. His son will drive a Land Rover, but turned into a Scooby-Doo moment there. Okay. My son drives a Land Rover. His son will drive a Land Rover, but his son will ride a camel.
Yeah.
And they asked him why. And he said, because strong men create hard times create strong men create easy times create weak men, and weak men create hard times.
Wow.
I was like this moment.
It's crazy.
To say like, You cannot allow your circumstances to dictate your strength, and you have to lean into the difficult circumstances so that you can become strong and insist on that and make sure that you're not soft if the times that you're in are easy.
Wow.
That was so important because what you pass on will be that much more difficult to the next generation. Now, I heard that. I heard it in a group full of people, and some other people are like, oh, wow. Writing it down. I'm pausing it. I'm like, hang on, let me get the last bit of that. I want to make sure I remember every bit of that.
Yeah.
Okay. It creates awareness.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you're far more aware of what you need to learn and what you are learning at times. Second thing that'll happen to you is it stirs your creativity. It forces you to think through and to research things that you would typically overlook. And I don't mean this just as a content creation side. I believe for so many people, we get bored with a life that is fascinating. And understanding the pressure, this may be a bad reason, but it works for me. The pressure that you're going to stand up in front of a group of people and you need to at least hold their interest for a period of time stirs your creativity to research, to think through things in a way that nothing else has done in my life. Third thing is you start to learn new rhythms. Okay. When the faucet is on, producing content isn't overwhelming because you understand the process of research, investigation, curiosity, thought planning, and then we get into organizing content sometime after that. You understand the rhythms you have to go through in order to make it work. When it's not on, so this is what will happen. Like someone a couple of weeks ago, I had to give this like 2-hour-long presentation. Hey, could you give this 2-hour-long presentation? All right, month out, perfectly fine. Good. I know the rhythms I've got to run through, how to set aside and block out time in order to make that work. And I'll talk to them like, hey, could you give a talk on this in a month? I don't know if I'm going to have time.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yep.
Because they don't understand the rhythms that they're going to have to go through.
Right.
V, what you want to jump into?
I think, well, it's interesting. I mean, I know that we're talking, you gave the 3 points about, what turning the faucet on does.
Yeah.
If we back up a little bit, in order for you to get to those the things that do happen because of it, you have to experience the places that you are put in order to actually get there. And I think you hit that earlier with you talking about, the young people, the older services, the podcast. I think it's so important to say you thought, and this is what we normally do. Yeah. Is we say we'll try it, but it's only gonna work 2 months. But through it, you actually putting yourself to be more aware of the content. Basically, we get in the way of content. Yeah, is what we're saying.
Oh, that's good.
Right, we're getting in the way of the content. Stop blocking the contenting.
Our lack of curiosity, and our lack of ideal development gets in the way of the content that's already there.
Yeah, and in order to I think there's something to be said about how do we turn it on, like, you know what I mean? We know what the effects of turning it on are.
So let me jump into this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because this is fantastic.
Yeah, this is good.
So here's if this is kind of like the key thing that I want to hit on right now, especially if you're younger, you're not in this spot right now. You turn the faucet on of creating content before you ever have an avenue to deliver the content.
Right.
And I know that sounds like just absolutely ridiculous to people, but I would say this: the thing that primed me when I was giving a sermon 3 times a week to be able to do it is I was already writing 2 a week when I was only given 1 a week. Yeah. And I know that may sound just absolutely ridiculous to say. I was writing sermons that I knew would not work for students in the spot that they were in. Yeah. But I wanted to get that content down on paper before I ever had an avenue. And some of those just vanished. Yeah. Like they're gone. I never delivered them. Yeah. And yet it was an important exercise for myself in my own understanding to get it down on paper.
Yeah. And just another practical thing that's going through my head now is that, when we were trying to figure out what an online campus would look like, I was watching every online campus I could ever watch. I didn't know what I was doing. Yeah. I didn't, you know what I mean? I knew what I wanted it to look like, but I didn't know how to get there. So I put myself in a position to I wasn't trying to copy everyone else's, but I needed to know what it looked like. And I think sometimes we don't even put ourselves in those situations to learn, to even know what the faucet looks like when we turn on. But here's another thing. You may have said this or repeated it from somebody a couple of weeks ago. It's like, how do we know the will of God? We get in the presence of God. Yeah. It's like, how do you turn this on? Like, do the things that's required to understand what it looks like. I think it's a powerful statement to know that content is already there. Get out of the way.
Absolutely.
It's so good. What else are things that people can learn from this today that will help them move forward? Especially because I know you said you've said this a few times. There's a targeted audience for this podcast today.
Yes.
Yeah. Talk more to them today about why this is so important.
Well, I mean, some of the things I want to get into the next 2 episodes after this, I really hope will kind of be, I don't say this, I say this hopefully meaningfully, like training wheels. I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to create content. Is to go, okay, like let me give you some training wheels on what that actually looks like in the content creation process.
Yeah.
But the most important thing is that you start creating content.
Right.
Whether it lives anywhere doesn't matter.
I think that's important to note.
So we say it as, all right, so just say like for a sermon, I learn more than anyone else does.
Yeah.
I have a greater benefit for not even delivering the message, just creating the content is of greater benefit to me. No matter how good the delivery is, I have significantly benefited from being this podcast. I promise you has benefited us more than it has anyone else.
Absolutely.
Like the things that we have learned walking through this and honestly like going through, hey, and sitting on the side, I'm like, oh, what about this? We're struggling. Why do we keep struggling with this? Oh, it's this. Oh, this should be a podcast.
Yeah. Yep.
Like it comes out of the sense of our own learning.
Right.
And we don't realize most people will just default to finding the answer from someone else.
Yeah.
Instead of actually looking for what they think the answer is because it's easier.
Yeah.
And so to say, don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Okay. It's already there. Okay. I wholeheartedly believe that. You may go, I don't know if it's really there for me. It's already there. Okay. It's just being blocked because it has nowhere to go. So turn the faucet on.
Yeah.
Get a paper and start writing down your thoughts. Write a message. Write a talk. Mark out a presentation. Share in paper form, something else. I believe that the process of writing is so important because it clarifies our thinking.
Yeah.
Even if your grammar is atrocious.
Yeah.
The process of writing is so important because it clarifies our thinking. I share an email every single week to our church board.
Yeah.
Even if none of them read it, it is worth it for me to write it because it gives me a mental picture of where we are right now and what is the work ahead of us.
Yeah.
And that is a process of creating content.
And I think, man, that's so good. And talking about, the people that are listening to this today, it would go, I think it just has to be said that you have life experience. You have things that you've experienced. There is content within you that no one else has access to except you. Write it down. Let God do things that you just can't imagine could happen just by you spilling it out on a piece of paper and reading it back to someone that you trust. That's so good. Wrap this up. 141, turn the faucet on.
Yeah, you have no idea what you're actually able to teach and what you can communicate and what you can clarify until you start the process of actually getting it down. So don't block it. Turned on, even if it has nowhere to go, at least put it down on paper for yourself, and you'll be amazed at how it stirs your creativity, creates rhythms, and develops your curiosity.
Yeah, get out the way. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you're new to the podcast or haven't yet subscribed, it'd mean the world to us if you did that now. Also, post about it, rate, and review, or both. You won't believe how you're actually helping this podcast get in the hands of more leaders who are just like you. And we think that that's really important, and we think it's going to help you move forward in your journey as well. We'd love hearing your stories of how the podcast is working in your life and business. If you have a story, visit leadinghope.online. Send that to us. We'd love to hear from you. And remember, everyone has 20 minutes to learn to become a better leader. Make it count.